This is Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting in Nairobi on 94.4, Malindi 97.7, Nyeri 90.9, Eldoret 96.7, Nakuru 96.0, 102.5 in Kisumu, 87.9 in Mombasa, 94.4 in Nairobi, and www.spicefm.co.ke, as well as Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. This final hour of the show, we want to talk about insurance and insurance in the country. Just like we said, just as we were going to the top of the hour, we'll be speaking with Nizar Juma. He's the chairman of Jubilee Holdings Limited. CT, you were talking about the announcement that was made last week.
Yes.
Jubilee and Alliance. Alliance.
Well,
It's a
I'm
German
going to call
company.
it Alliance. If it's pronounced differently, I will ask those who know how to pronounce it correctly to forgive me. But it's written Allianz, as I can see, SE, headquartered in Munich. Now, Jubilee Insurance is the biggest insurance company, not only have in this country, but in the region.
Oh, yeah.
So when you find a champion or a captain or an industry leader partnering with another industry leader, the question that you then have to ask yourself is, what is the possible reason? And after asking the question of the reason, the possible benefits.
So let's welcome Nizar Juma, the chairman of Jubilee. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Nice to be with you.
Good to have you on the show. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
In the room, we normally have a seat reserved here for our guests, which we call the hot seat. It's
Okay.
not as comfortable looking as the one that you're sitting on, but we want to pass on the heat from here to you
Okay.
via this interview. So just starting off from what City has asked, what possibly is it that had led to this partnership between Jubilee and now we're going to give you the opportunity to let us learn how to pronounce the name of this company.
The pronunciation is Allianz, and it ends with a Z.
Right.
Okay. So it's Allianz, and it's a German pronunciation. And they've been in existence, as you rightly said earlier, 129 years. And we have been in contact with them for the last 4 years or so. And as you may know, that a lot of international insurance companies have been in touch with local insurers for some time, including with us. And until now, we have resisted to merge or to connect with them because we felt that, the only thing they wanted to offer us was money. And if you look at our balance sheet, that's not something that we are looking for. So what we were looking for is a strategic alliance, where we can be taken from where we are to the next step rather quickly. And I think that we found eventually that Allianz is a company that could offer that to us. And so we have just dipped our toe in the water. We've not gone the whole hog with them. What we have done is that, as you probably know, in the insurance world, we have general insurance, medical, life, and pension. And we have done a deal with them in general insurance only.
Okay.
So they will participate in all our general insurance companies in the 5 countries which you have mentioned earlier. Should I go on, or you want me to?
No, please go on.
Yeah. So we have offered them shares, some 51% or 66%, depending on where. And so they will be our strategic partner. And general insurance is 12% of our total business. And of this 12%, they've taken just under 8% of the total, for which, as you rightly said, they have made a payment to us of 10.8 billion. Now, when this transaction is complete and the new company, which will be called Jubilee Allianz General Insurance. Excuse me.
Bless you.
So when that happens, then also we will absorb their existing company here, which is Allianz Kenya General Insurance Company. So we will absorb that company into this new company, which will be called, as I said, Jubilee Allianz. So that is the deal as it stands now.
Okay.
And as I said, we've just started dealing with them.
What does this mean for the market now in Kenya with this new alliance?
Well,
what
yes.
then does it translate for the insurance industry here, or for Jubilee as a company?
Yeah. I think that first of all that, we get much more into technology. We get into state-of-the-art products. With the volume that both put together will be able to do, it means that we will also be able to bring down the prices of general insurance. And I think that this is the kind of things that we are looking for. We will be more and more into retail. And as you know, that our young population is not interested to meet people in person. They would rather do everything on their phone.
Yep.
So we will be having more and more apps and more things that they will be able to do on their smartphones. And so this is where the future is, and we want to enter it as quickly as possible.
Just looking at it, like you say, what they'll be able to offer then is that technological know-how. Is it what they have practiced in other countries? And for example, if there are examples of what they've done in other countries and the success that they've achieved?
They've certainly done that in Western Europe and North America. As you probably know, that they are also in 12 other countries in Africa. But I think that the other countries they are in, they have not been so dynamic because they also needed a dynamic partner like us.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last 1 year, they have bought 3 companies like ours. One is in Nigeria, one is in Morocco, and one is ours. So I think that now more and more there will be a bigger and bigger demand for state-of-the-art technological advances in what they will do with us.
There's something I'd like to ask you, Mr. Nizar. When one looks at insurance companies, at least there's a trend that I have seen. More and more they refer to themselves as financial institutions.
Yes.
Why is this?
Okay. You know that majority of the insurance companies, particularly when they are doing life insurance, are also collectors of deposits from their customers. So in other words, if you buy a life insurance, you are investing in us over a long period of time. And so we have a great deal of assets. And so we are investing these assets in other institutions and in government bonds and in the stock market. So we, therefore, for example, with Jubilee, half of our business is insurance and half of our business is investments in other institutions. I think John was mentioning earlier some of these companies like Bujagali, Ecom, and so on. So all of these companies are our investments, which then produce returns for our investors and life insurance companies. And also we have a company called Jubilee Financial Services. We also offers mutual funds. So that's why we are called financial institutions, because we are a major investors. And also the government depends on us a lot because, for example, Jubilee will have at any given time between 70 and 80 billion shillings in government bonds, mostly long-term bonds.
Do I understand you to say, therefore, that if insurance companies got together, that some of these problems that we seem to have that take us to borrowing huge sums from other institutions abroad, that this is a role that perhaps insurance companies could actually take?
Actually, the insurance companies are already playing that role. Excuse me. As I said, a company like ours, apart from the government bonds, which is considerable. I mean, if we are investing 80 billion in government bonds, that's a lot of money. We are in fact lending to the government. So I think that this is a function that we continuously do. Every time the government issues treasury bills, whether they are 6 monthly, 1 yearly, or 15, 20 years, we invest in that constantly. All the insurance companies do that. Excuse me. So I think we are big time investors in government.
If we just look at general insurance, which is where the partnership has started with Allianz, what products does Jubilee have in the country on general insurance?
General means that it's motor, it's burglary, it's fire, it's theft, it's all of those general things, apart from medical and life. So all the other things are in general.
So if
you want to insure your house, or if you want to insure your car, anything, personal belongings, your business, stock, all of those things, then you will come to us for general insurance.
So this is now what is not considered life, pension, or medical insurance.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, if we look at the development of these products in the country, because one of the I don't want to call it accusations, but one of the comments that you hear from very many people who comment on insurance and the penetration of insurance products in the country is that the insurance companies have gotten to a point where you're comfortable with the kind of products that you have and the way that you've been delivering them to your clientele, such that there has not been much investment in better ways of reaching out to the uninsured, or even coming up with other products that would then appeal to other cadres of people who would be able to take up insurance. What would you say to that?
I am afraid that I would have to agree with you. That, I think that there are too many companies, and, there are 45 insurance companies in Kenya, in case you didn't know. So, and quite a lot of these companies are not substantial. So there's a lot of competition going on, and I would probably say that more than half of these companies are not able to meet their commitments. In other words, that they don't have enough funds to run their businesses, leave alone pay their claims. So I think that everybody sticks to, what is common, as you absolutely rightly say, to motor and to life and fire and so on. So I think that is one of the reasons, as I said right at the beginning, that we have come together with a company like Allianz, because we want to bring in state-of-the-art products, we want to bring in at a lower price, and we want to give a huge variety to the Kenyan population in order to up our penetration. As you know, our penetration in Kenya is 2.7%, and going down. It was 2.9.
Yeah.
So I think that, this is something that we are light years behind South Africa, for example, and lots of other countries. So I think that the average in the world is double figure. So I think we need to get there. In Uganda and Tanzania, for example, it's less than 1%.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a serious problem. I think that companies like ours want to take a lead in this and want to, apart from bring in lots and lots of technology, we want to bring in a big variety of products which we want to offer to our public.
Nizar, is there room for bite-sized insurance, even as you're talking about these challenges? Is there room for insurance that can be accessed, by the average Kenyan if they pay a small amount every day? Because a lot of people in the uptake of insurance are not able to deal with the large amounts that they would essentially have to pay per month. So is there an option whereby you're paying a smaller premium, a much smaller premium, to then be able to access the services? Because the majority of the population is consuming things in that kind of bite-sized economy.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And this is something we want to do more and more. We want to offer people to be able to pay monthly on their smartphone for their medical insurance or for their life cover or even for their home. Because if you go to the informal sector today and approach a small guy who's got a duca, he's got a shop, he's got a family, he's got, all of those things. And if you go to him and say, you should insure, his answer will be, sina pesa, because they think that they don't have enough money to be able to insure. So what you say is absolutely right. This is the future. This is what we are trying to get to, so that we can use those 40 million cell phones, and get them to invest in insurance to protect themselves on a weekly or a monthly basis. And so that, this requires also a lot of systems. You cannot do all of those things unless you invest heavily in systems. And we are prepared to do that. Our first priority has been to counter fraud, because with insurance and fraud, they are synonymous. They are. Everybody is capable of defrauding an insurance company. If you go anywhere, they will first ask you, are you insured? Because there is a different price for the insurance fee. So I think that we've put a lot of money in systems to counter fraud, and we are still putting more money. But our second priority is that we want to be able to digitalize insurance so that people can pay what they can afford rather than what we insist they must pay. So you make a very, very valid point. This is the future, absolutely the future. And not before too long, all of these will come into the market.
Nizar Juma is the chairman of Jubilee Holdings Limited, having a conversation with him about the insurance sector in the country and in the region. Insurance is a big thing, but if you look at the penetration, just like Nizar Juma is saying, 2.7% penetration in Kenya. Surely that's very low, and there's a lot that needs to be done. We need to find out, why is it this way? Is it about the industry? Is it about the market? Is it about the regulator and the regulations that we have in the room? We have Eric Latif, CT Muga, and Nduoko. And joining us on the line is Nizar Juma, the chairman of Jubilee Holdings. Nizar, as we were going into the break, we were looking at the lie of the land in terms of insurance in the country and in the region. 2.7% penetration in Kenya. This is such a small cake for 45 insurance companies to be fighting over in the country. And then, in fact, you're even saying this is dropping. It used to be 2.9%. What would we pin this on or blame this on? Why such low penetration?
I think that it's mostly that we insurance companies need to educate the public more and more. We need to sell them the advantages of insurance. The other important thing is that we have to get the public to trust us. I think that traditionally, over a long period of time, these insurance agents, I put it in inverted commas, were not scrupulous. And this has given insurance companies quite a bad name.
Yeah.
What we are now doing is that, building trust and, paying claims faster and faster and easily. The other is that we have now started selling insurance through banks, and it's bank assurance. So you can go into a bank and buy insurance of any kind. And I think that because banks have bigger exposure than insurance companies, and I'm sad to say that banks are more trusted than insurance companies. So I think that this kind of move will improve penetration. Also, as we go more and more into retail, and as we adopt more and more technology, so that people are able to access insurance easily on their smartphone, I think this will also increase penetration. And I think that this is the future. I think that we have to get into double figures, and we have to do it in the next 5-7 years.
Apart from what obviously you've said is the slow payment and settling of claims, what could be the other reason why insurance companies are not trusted by the market?
I think, as I said, was that, the origin, a long time ago, insurance companies were adopting lots of agents, who were going and selling insurance and pocketing the money, not remitting it. They were not getting insurance, and there were a lot of scams. And I think that people don't forget easily.
Yeah.
Now, companies like ours that have now been in existence for 83 years, your father or your grandfather probably insured with Jubilee.
Yeah.
So, we have a background and we have a solid base, and, we are trustworthy and reliable. But unfortunately, we can't say that for all of them. I would say that out of 45 insurance companies, probably 8, are doing probably 60 or 70% of the total business. And the remaining are still just playing at insurance.
It's a huge number. That's a huge number. The issue of education, as the CT is going to ask his question again, the issue of education and people's understanding and awareness of what insurance is and what insurance then does. I find that personally to be a very big bone that I have to pick with insurance companies, because you'll find, yes, that somebody comes to sell you insurance. They don't understand the product that they're selling, so they misrepresent the facts. What you've understood to be what you've bought versus vis-a-vis what they were selling, vis-a-vis what you actually ended up buying, are three completely different things. And maybe that's why now when it comes to me claiming with the insurance company, they tell me, but no way, this is not what you're entitled to. What is it that the insurance companies and the regulator should do, because they haven't done? What is it that they should do to ensure better education of the public on insurance?
Yeah, I think that what we have started to do already, is a lot of information on insurance apps, insurance brochures, insurance. We are educating more and more and more, because this is in our interest. If the public is knowledgeable, when I became chairman of Jubilee, that was about 15 years ago, nobody advertised. The only advertised was the annual results, which they had to do by law.
Yep.
And so from there, we have come a long way. I think that we are doing a lot of promotion and educating the public. And I think that we need to do more and more of this. And I think this is where technology will come in. And as we invest more and more in technology, I think that people will be able to see exactly what they are buying, what is it that they will get benefits of, all of those kind of things. And also, we are also investing now in huge call centers so that people can call and get more and more information about what we are training these people. In Jubilee, for example, we have one call center in our Jubilee Center of 60 people and expanding every day. So I think that more and more of this kind of, if you go on our website, we give you lots of information. And more and more of this has to happen. You are absolutely right. I'm not able to defend my industry and say that they are doing what they are supposed to do. Not yet. But I promise you this, the way in which we at Jubilee are going with technology, I think in very, very short time, we will correct this situation.
Do you think this would also help in the uptake of non-traditional insurance products? I mean, I'm thinking about things that you offer, for homes and things like this in terms of insurance. Because I think of other countries like now, for example, the United States having gotten out of, the fire season. But even if homes are destroyed, people have taken up insurance for their homes. And so, they're compensated or their homes are rebuilt or things like that.
Yes.
And I know that there are offers for such in Kenya. I know that there was terrorism insurance and things like that. But there's a reluctance for people to take up these non-traditional insurance products. And why do you think that is?
I think it's, again, education. I think that we are telling more and more of our people that you need to. This terrorism cover, for example, we were telling people that if you don't pay that extra 1 or 1.5%, your entire insurance will be negated in case there is a terrorist attack. And I think that even civil unrest is something that, people have to add to their insurance. A few years ago, I'm sure you remember that we had, very bad result of an election, and, there was lots of damage done.
Yep.
And 99% of our customers had no insurance for civil commotion. And we then had to make ex gratia payments for a lot of our customers who had been with us for like 40 or 50 years, and we could not abandon them in the end. But I think that, again, it comes to education. People need to be aware.
Right.
I think that if they believe that, if they are not going to be subjected to riots or civil commotion or terrorism, then they say, why pay the extra 1 or 2%? I think that's what human beings think like, and it's what I need to do today.
Yeah.
And rather than, think of something that might happen to me.
Sure, and I think for a lot of people, there's that notion that if you pay for some kind of insurance that you might not ever use, that your money is essentially lost. Is that the case?
I think so, because insurance is what we call in the trade bitch payment. People don't want to do it. They don't want to make the payment. They are forced to make it.
Yep.
And in some countries, we've even encountered that as soon as they paid the premium, they are looking for ways to get the money back by doing a claim. So I think that the attitude is a little bit different. It's not to protect me and my family against an eventuality that is likely to happen, but it is that it's a bitch payment. I have to make it, so, I'm forced, so I have no choice, and I'll make it. Otherwise, I can't drive my car, for example. So it's things like that. I think slowly we need to educate more and more. We are going into the informal sector now, and educating those people and saying, you have enough money to insure, because we'll give you one policy that's for your shop, that's for your car, that's for the medical, for your insurance, for your stock in trade, all of them combined. And then they think, okay, well, maybe if it's not too much money, I might think about it.
Right.
So it's a convincing game, but I think that we have to do it, and we have to encourage people by making sure that when there is a claim that they get paid. I am always constantly asking our claims people, to be on the move and to monitor on the dashboard how quick is their turnaround in making payments. And I think that people insure only for that reason. Everything else is blah, blah. They only insure because in case there is a claim, they want to be paid without minimum of hassle.
Yeah, not too much runaround from insurance people telling you,
Exactly.
you did not sign here. You signed
Yeah,
below the dotted line instead of above the dotted line.
I know.
Too much. This morning, having a conversation with the chairman of the biggest insurance company in the region. This is Nizar Juma. In the room is Eric Latif Nduoko and Siti Muga.
Mr. Nizar Juma, I was thinking about the mention of Allianz being involved in Nigeria as well as Morocco, and now Kenya. Would I be wrong in assuming that they're positioning themselves for when the Africa Free Trade Zone comes into effect?
I'm sure it's partly that, but you see, it's partly also that when you look at what we have been discussing, the penetration. If you look at the penetration of insurance south of the Sahara, the average will be certainly lower than Kenya. So I think that when a company in Europe or North America looks at these figures, they start salivating and thinking, that the potential is ginormous.
Yep.
So I think that is what is probably attracting them.
Okay.
And then, the other things like, lack of technology and, all of those kind of things also. I think they think that the potential is very large. And they are quite right in thinking that.
When you talk about training and getting sure that people get the right information, what do you do to ensure you, one, employ people who have the aptitude to do the work, and B, what do you do with ensuring you train them sufficiently so that they know how to meet the needs of the market that you send them into?
I think we do both. I think that we take people who are already qualified, and then we also do constant training on the job. So we have trainers that are on the job. We also employ trainers who come in from the outside to train. That we have big budgets for training. I mean, I can't tell you off the top of my head what our budget per annum is for training, but it is very big, and I think we are increasing this every year because if we don't have technically competent people, it's very difficult for us to sell insurance. But one advantage of technology is that will make things easier. Because if you go online and you want to buy whether it's motor or fire or whatever kind of insurance, I think that you will be able to get a lot of information and comparison about the different products available before you invest. I think that this is something we are giving a lot of attention to because we want to make sure that we don't go back to our old ways, where people just sold insurance on the gift of the gap rather than giving technical information.
And do you think that this is, it's interesting that you talk about maybe people selling insurance and are not properly educated on the different factors that need to happen or don't know. And we've talked severally in this room about education for market demands. If Kenya has such a huge potential when it comes to being covered for insurance, obviously that means that the agents of insurance then have to be well versed in this. So do you think this is something that has to lean on the side of education for the insurance market in order to have this output that would then feed the potential that you say is there in this country?
Yes, I think that, there is a College of Insurance, in case you're not aware. And I think that they are constantly training. We even have considered, and are looking at the possibility of jointly sponsoring an academy for insurance, that we would do it together with the College of Insurance. So I think the need is there. I think that if all agents are not employed until they are properly trained first, and I think that the serious insurance companies like ours make sure that they don't send people out on the streets without proper training. because that is counterproductive to ourselves.
Yep.
And I think that more and more serious insurance companies are now learning that that is the only way for us to continue to expand our business.
Is the relationship still cordial between insurance companies and insurance agents or brokers? And I say this because, I mean, even as you've alluded to before, there's what the agents have been known to do. Some of them coming into the market with not clear intention of running the business as it should be run. And then there are those that are in the market to run a business, but then they also have some sort of friction between the insurance company themselves versus the agents and that relationship. Is it, would you say it's cordial? Would you say that there's room for improvement there?
In our own case, I think that we do have a very good relationship with both our brokers and our agents. Because probably 60% of our business is done through brokers, and maybe another 20% through agents. And then, there are other mediums like bank assurance and so on that does the rest. So I think that this intermediary are important to us. And so we do take care of them, and we make sure that they are properly incentivized as well as educated. I think that because if they are not, then we are cutting our own feet, obviously.
And in the role of the regulator, I don't know what you would say if you compare the Kenyan market vis-a-vis the other markets, for example, the Western markets. Are we heavily regulated, or is our regulation just enough to allow insurance companies to operate?
Now you are asking me to go into very touchy ground. I would say that our regulators are adequate. I think that they are increasing progressively the amount of regulation which they are bringing into the market. For example, this year they have introduced risk capital introduction.
Yes.
Now, however, right now, because of COVID, a lot of companies have been let off. But the situation is that, I am not sure that this is being rigorously enforced. Because, if you are running at a loss and as an insurance company, and you don't have enough money to pay for your own expenses and your salaries, how can you pay claims?
Yep.
And you see there, and we find that often there are companies which are in this situation, and they are still, running fast.
Yep.
So, I think that there is room here, either for consolidation, or for some companies to be closed down. I'm sorry to say, but there is. Because if you don't have enough money to pay your claims, there is no reason why you should continue as an insurance company. There is no way in which you should be allowed. And so I think that we are all insisting that this happens, that consolidation happens, that companies are asked to put in more money or to consolidate. I think that, but if you look at, and this is not something that's secret information, I think that if your investigative people look at the results of 45 companies, you will find that probably 20 of them are on the borderline or in the red. How can they then, genuinely not find mistakes not to pay claims?
Which is where I was actually going with the question about the regulator. and how robust the regulator is. When you look at the banking sector, the central bank, which is regulating
Yes.
that, is very much sort of on top or observing exactly what's happening in every banking institution on a daily basis. Do we have the same kind of hands-on approach in the regulation of the insurance sector?
I think that by and large, I think that the regulator organization is active, and they audit us, a few times a year, two, 3 times a year. I think that so from that point of view, I think that they are certainly trying to do their job well. Mm-hmm. But you see, when there are touchy questions of companies not having adequate capital because they are running into losses, I think that then there are some question marks. Mm. And already you made me talk too much, so please let's talk about something.
Maybe okay. Let's change the topic a little bit.
Thank
One of
you.
the things that stands out about you is just the number of chairmanships and board directorships that you have. You have had,
yes.
You've reduced them significantly. So the question I want to ask is, what is it that motivates you to take up these positions? I am aware that many of them are offered to you, but what has been the motivation?
You know that I think about 20 odd years ago, I stopped chasing money for money. Mm-hmm. I know that might sound a little bit funny, but I think that I decided that, I had enough to live on, and so I wanted to pursue volunteer positions. And so I became chairman of the hospitals, Aga Khan hospitals in Kenya. And from there, then I went on to some commercial commitments. But all of these I do on a volunteer basis. Mm. And if people see that I can be helpful to them, then I want to serve. And if I serve and can do positive things for them and for the general public, then this gives me satisfaction. And that's why, as I was asked to do more and more, I took them on. Mm. But I think a few years, 4 or 5 years ago, I now decided that enough is enough. And now I want to stop. So I have slowly
started... Stop or reduce, sir?
Well, I have started to reduce
yes.
The number of companies already, as you have done, obviously, your homework well. So I did start to have reduced them considerably. And, that I want to pursue now. I will still keep a few of them, not many, but I want to pursue now things that I want to do. And that I am, for example, doing the Blue Company project, which is my personal project, and that is anti-corruption. Mm-hmm. 500 companies have already joined us in this Blue Company project, and we are trying to get more and more and expand it in the region. Mm-hmm. So I want to expand on that. I do something called the Future of Power, which are also seminars for responsible leadership, which I have now done in 70 cities all over the world. So, and I want to write a book. So, all of those things are what I now want to pursue. So that's why I now want to stop. Eventually, I will stop holding directorships in companies.
And that is commendable, because what you're still saying is you're still giving back to the society, and you're at the phase of consolidating your legacy, not creating it. You've already created it. It's basically now consolidating your legacy. Looking back over those many years that you've contributed in one way or the other, what is it that you would say if you were to talk to a 30-year-old Nizar Juma today, you'd tell him?
I think that I saw in my younger days, I was so totally absorbed by the pursuit of money that nothing else mattered. Not my family, not my quality of life, not how I did what I was doing. So I think that when you have that kind of fire in your belly, I think that you ignore everything else. And if I had my life again, I think that I would not do that.
What would you do then?
Yeah.
I would be more of an all-rounder, that I would not focus so much just on this one aspect. I would also look at the quality of my life and quality of the life of the people around me. I think that that is important. And I think that for the younger generation, I would say, focus on everything and not just on one or two things. I think because you can go into extremes.
It
And
seems,
sorry.
no, it's okay. I mean, it seems as you do all of this, that then you're going into things that would have more social impact. I mean, talking about companies and who are interested in making sure that there's zero to none, zero corruption. Looking at the power companies that you've talked, the power elements that you've talked about, and hoping that young people. What do you see what kind of an impact do you see on this country moving forward? I mean, coming out of business for such a long time, hoping that things would change. What's your outlook, if you can be optimistic?
Yeah. I think that what bothers me the most is that our young people are today growing up thinking that it's okay to be corrupt. If I can make money quickly through corruption, why should I go through that whole process of working hard and making money slowly? I think that this is what, we need to change this. We want to make it fashionable again to be non-corrupt. People that work for my companies or companies under my umbrella are devoid of corruption. They cannot, even if they want to, they can't. So because they sign a document which says that I will not give or take bribes, and if I do, I shall be responsible for gross misconduct.
Yep.
Now, with that, I see that our people are working with their heads held high up, that I'm working for a company that's following best practices in everything. We pay all our taxes, and we are not corrupt. And more importantly, that a son or a spouse can say, my husband or my wife works for this company which is entirely corruption-free. And I think this is what we want to encourage more and more. And I think that unless we stop ourselves from going down that slippery path, I think that there is no comeback. And I think we need to do it. We need to do this now.
Indeed. We want to thank you very much, Nizar Juma, for speaking to us. Apart from the Silver Star that you received from the president in 1982, what other state honors have you received in the order of state honors?
From Mike Kibaki, he gave me a commendation and a trophy for services, selfless services to Kenya. And then I received other commendations from, they gave me one called the Bharat Gaurav Award. And India for, it was partly for this Future of Power program which I am doing, the project for leadership, responsible leadership. And the insurance industry have also given me a Lifetime Achievement Award, which I'm very proud of.
Indeed, a very good thing. Asante sana
Yes.
for speaking to us, and we wish you a great day.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you.
All
It
right.
was nice talking.
Same here.
Thank you.
Same here.